Welcome to Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Today's video, we're going to be making a wall-mounted handrail. The client currently has a really narrow concrete stairwell between the house and a block wall. And they've got an old dilapidated handrail that's mounted to the concrete, taking up some extra space. You want to get rid of that, and we're going to mount a wall-mounted handrail onto the block wall, give them some extra space, be a clean job. Let's get started on today's video. Today's video is sponsored by King Metals. They've got all your fabrication needs in one location. From hinges to hardware, balusters to metal decor, brass to aluminum, and a whole lot more. You name it, they've got it. Check them out today at kingmetals.com. Now let's get back to today's video. Okay, so before we get started, I thought I would kind of show you guys a sample of what we're going to be using for this project right here. This is just a sample piece of what I'm going to be using. I have a 20-foot length on the ground back there, but basically it's a piece of, I don't know if you can see that. This is 2 1/4 inch cap mold, and it's got this nice little this detail to it. It's designed for handrails. On the bottom side here, we're going to be putting some 1.5 inch flat bar stock. We're going to be welding that on. These are a sample of a couple of the wall mounting brackets. This is a more simple style, not much detail to it. It has a little bit more of an offset mounting to the wall, and then this here will mount to the flat plate like that. I believe this is like a 2.5 inch offset, and then this one here has got a little bit more of a design to it, a little bit more flair to it, you know, with a little radius right here and a nice little detent right here to mount to the wall. And it can either be screwed or welded. In our case, we're going to go ahead and weld this to the bottom, and this offset's about 2 inches, I believe. So, and that's going to be plenty wide enough to get your hand around, and of course we want to optimize as much room as possible in this stairwell. And then for the ends, these are called lamb's tongues. They're the matching detail for the cap mold. They'll get welded on there on both sides, and just kind of give it a little bit of a nice detail, a nice flair, and a good look to a finished type of handrail. Now all these products are available at kingmetals.com. So let's go ahead and get started on today's project. All right, so I mentioned they're 20-foot lengths. They're actually come in 19-foot lengths, and so you see me straddling across my welding table and onto my cutoff saw area there. You know, for these longer pieces is what I have to do to make it work. You know, the welding table and this table right here and all my workbenches are set at the same elevation, so that kind of helps out. All right, once it's cut to length, I believe it's about 17 feet. It's a little bit too long for my welding table, a little support on the end. And I'm going to start off with these lamb's tongue right here. Now these things, the molds are a little bit different, but they're really close to being the same. So it's important that you fasten. You can see I've got the rail upside down, and it is fastened down tight. And then I've got the lamb's tongue fastened down. I double check to be sure everything is lined up so it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to weld it all the way around. Now, you know, this stuff is cast iron, cast steel, so it doesn't really weld too good, and it's not real important that the welds are really pretty. It's just mainly I'm just trying to get you know, some good penetration in there. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to be grinding this smooth, and you can see I'm starting off with a brand new flap disc. This is a trimmable flap disc from Mercer. It's a 60 grit, and the reason why is I need these sharp edges of the flap disc right here to get into the small detail area. You can see there's a little detail on the outside of the handrail right there. So I'm going to need a fresh flap disc right here with some really sharp corners to be able to get in there to shape up that detail. You know, this thing is going to be powder coated. Nothing is really perfect. You know, the powder coating will hide some of it if it's not absolutely perfect. And on the underneath side, I'm just finishing up that detail, and I don't need to clean up any of the weld on the inside right there, because the 1.5" flat bar is going to go over the top of that ultimately. It's just important that we get that little detail cleaned out so that bar fits in there. So after a little bit of that, little test fit with a sample piece of flat bar here, and it just sits over there, and that's going to work out okay. So I'm just going to repeat the same process here, flipping this thing around. You know, I told myself that I wasn't going to do anything with long sections of fencing or railing or anything, but yeah, that never works. Anyways, it's the same process right here. Lining everything up, just getting it just right. And I'm doing this by eye. You can just sight this in. Same process, welding it all the way around. You know, it's important to get it clamped down. You know, anytime you put heat into anything, it has a tendency to distort, to warp a little bit. And if you can keep it fastened down nice and tight, nice and straight, that'll help. Once again, just kind of smoothing things off right here the best I can. The idea is if you know, someone is running their hand along the handrail, they don't want to get it hung up on a piece of metal or a sharp edge piece of metal. So I'm just doing the best I can to get to create those lines back in there and just make it look the best I can. You know, the camera doesn't do it a lot of justice. It looks a lot better than what it shows right here. It actually was pretty smooth and pretty perfect. Yeah, there you go. Just cleaning that up. And the best I can. All right, so 1.5" by 1/8" flat bar stock fits right in the rail in the bottom side right here. And you can see that I'm clamping this down all the way down, and as often as I can, as this is where you put heat in. This has a tendency to warp slightly. The beauty is it's a long straight piece, and if there's any kind of warping to it when you install it, you can just kind of just bend it right into shape. It forms really smooth into place, even with a slight little warp to it. So welding this about every 8 inches apart or so, and a weld about 1 inch or so long is all I really want to do, is all I really need to do. And you can see that this was 2 pieces right there. I didn't have a 20-foot section of flat bar stock, so I just cut it. I just split it in half and just put half of it half and half, and that joint is in the middle part of the rail there. But you can see how I got it clamped down, and you know, that's just keeping it secure as I go all the way down both sides of this. A little bit of adjustment right there. I was just trying to get the adjustment, and I turned it up a little bit so I can get a little bit more penetration in here and more consistency on the weld. And this is going to give it a little bit of rigidity for sure, because the rail itself is just a little flexible. So with this flat bar stock in after it's welded in there, you know, it kind of stiffens that up quite a bit. Plus, it's going to give us a nice flat spot to weld the brackets on, the mounting brackets onto as well. All right, so I'm just smoothing off these welds. So like I had mentioned, you know, the idea is if you run your hand up and down this handrail, you definitely don't want to be having any kind of welds that you're running your hand against. You just want it as smooth as you possibly can. So after I did all this grinding and got it all smoothed off, I went up and down it with my hand to be sure there was no rough spots anywhere, and it stayed pretty smooth. You might see a couple of radius pieces in the background there. Well, that's for an upcoming video. It's going to be a gate and arbor video. Well, it's going to be a pretty fun project to do. I'm looking forward to that. So like I said, I went through here and just finished all the detail around. I did hit it with a non-woven pad to smooth out everything, to be sure it was nice and smooth. All right, these are the mounting brackets right here. I'm choosing the more decorative ones right here, and I'm only putting 4. It's all I really need, and I was just doing the math right there. I had to hit a couple of targets with the existing wall that I had there. I had to be sure they were welded in the right spot. So I believe it was about 2 feet in from each side. Then the ones in the center were about 4 feet on center or so. Now you can see they provide these screw holes in there. Well, that's good for if you want to screw it to a wood railing, or maybe a metal railing of any kind, or in this case we are going to weld them on. And there's really not much to it, you know, they just line them up in there where you need to be and just weld it all the way around. And that's about it. So it's a simple little handrail. If you had any kind of fabrication skills at all, it's something you can do in your shop, your garage, and maybe for your own house or something. It's a fun little project. I enjoyed doing it. I hope you guys got something from it. We're going to get this over to the powder coaters and get it installed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.